I've been writing code for 14 years now, building architectures, actually writing code without using AI tools. Can you imagine that? Building services, scaling them, seeing them fail in the production, then fixing them again, interning at a bunch of companies, even taking a job, running my own company, my own startup, pivoting it, shifting architectures, shifting databases, designing architectures based on business needs, and I've worked with a lot of developers along the way. In the last 14 years, I have learned a lot, and I want to compress down and give you some of my key insights and brutal truths that you should take away as somebody who's an aspiring developer or a builder. The first truth is that you are no longer a coder, you are an architect and a builder. AI has unfortunately changed the baseline completely of what we call as somebody who's working in engineering now. If you just go back a few years and if you're just writing code for CRUD apps, basic applications, you're building APIs, even if you're doing this, you can make a decent amount of living. However, the state-of-the-art AI now has completely disrupted that, and writing code is no longer the bottleneck. What code needs to be written and how do you have to architect that is this bottleneck now, is something that engineers have to figure out. Earlier, what used to happen is that if you're working at a lower level as a junior developer or as somebody who does not really know a lot about the architect or the architecture of the system, you would get instructions from a senior developer who would be doing this work and they will be asking you to implement that. The thing is that a lot of these folks now can actually do this on their own. So they don't need you, and that is where the bottleneck gets removed of writing the code or implementing that architecture. So your focus should not be to compete with these systems now. Instead, your focus should be how do you make it possible so that you understand the tools and the systems that you're working deeply. The future belongs to developers and people who are able to orchestrate AI and work with them speedily, not the ones who just completely rely on it. That also brings me to my second point, which is a lot of you guys are actually becoming lazy. Using AI to move faster in your organization is a really smart move, but using AI to actually skip fundamentals, so you are in a situation where you don't actually understand what even you are doing in the first place, that is a bad move. That is a fatal move, I would say. And I keep coming back to this analogy where if your backend goes down at 3 a.m. in the night, that is where the true test of a developer or a systems engineer lies in figuring out how fast we can get the system back. And if you don't have understanding on what parts are wrong or what is going wrong, chances are that you can make the situation even worse, not just fix it. And a lot of outages and a lot of things that happens are a result of cascading effects. They are not just simply somebody has forgotten something. It's usually not that. Outages are complex. Things cascade to a certain effect, and if you don't know about your architecture yourself, an AI could maybe possibly solve it, but it will take a lot more time compared to what it would take you if you are a systems engineer, if you are somebody who's well enough and well capable enough with the tools that you have. Another learning that I have is a lot of people waste a lot of time debating about which tool is good or bad. You would have seen that in my recent example of a couple of videos that I did on Node.js where I told how Node.js is bad at a specific thing and I gave like a reasoning how it led to a production outage in our system. And a lot of people in the comments are actually mad. They got mad. They got really upset about what I have told. And this is the biggest mistake. Not that they are defending Node.js or not that they are attacking Node.js or whatever. But the whole discussion itself, the whole discussion is meaningless because the market, the end user does not care what tech stack you're using. They only care about the product that you're delivering to them and the value associated with it. Now, that being said, the tools that you pick and the stack that you choose does has certain value because that is the stack that will also determine that what kind of job that you are doing. In the job itself, which stack you are picking, like systems, backend, frontend, whatever. But at a long enough timeline, at a large enough scale, if you keep upskilling yourself and you keep learning new things, it's not a huge thing for you to transfer from one stack to another or one technology framework to another. So a core learning to remember is that these debates between technologies and stacks and people defending something very strongly is pointless after a certain point, right? If you are smart enough and if you understand the nuances of things, you would know that everything has its own ways, own list of pros and cons. Everything. There is nothing such as an absolute perfect thing, because if it were, then we would just obviously just leave everything else, right? If something can solve everything, then basically there is no point of using anything else. And the nuances get lost because people just blindly pick tools and they just figure out because this is a popular thing, it should work for us also. You should also actively seek for pain. What I mean by that is that you should figure out which places or which tasks or jobs are actually out of your scope of understanding or your limits which are there. You would not become a full stack developer, which is like a 10x developer. That is what we used to call these people back in the day, like 10x, 100x developers, just by following basic tutorials, building basic apps. And even with AI, it's even difficult now because AI is there to assist you, right? So the journey of every great developer has happened through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering where you are stuck, you don't exactly know what to do, you don't have a lot of help, you spend a lot of time staring at the screen, angry, exhausted, and you just don't know how to proceed forward. AI has basically made it impossible for you to land into that painful situation now, which is what I worry about as well, because it's like, you hitting the gym and, the muscles are built when your tissues are at its limits, right? Imagine like you are doing an exercise and then every single time you have help, right? Somebody's helping you with the weights, somebody's helping you with the bench press, whatever. If that happens, you would do the exercise, yes, the work would be completed, but you would not build any muscles. This is sort of a similar analogy when you are writing code and when you are doing software engineering. If you don't feel the pain yourself of growth, you would actually be not a good developer. This also has a silver lining to it because now the thing is that everyone has access to AI, right? So your competition, even though the number of people have increased, but at the same time, the number of people who actually know this fact, like look at the number of people watching this video below, right? It'll not be a lot of people. So a lot of people are not listening to this advice and they will not switch off their AI when they are stuck, which I feel is the right way to go about. If you are learning something new for the first time, just don't continuously keep using AI. It's fine. You can put it into an educational mode so that it assists you, doesn't answer you, but don't let it lift weights for you. The weightlifting has to be done by you. Another mistake that I see people doing is that they don't focus a lot on their personal brand. And it seems like, you will feel like personal branding or, having a brand of your own is only for content creators or influencers or, people who want to create content online. That is not true. The brand that you create, it could be just as simple as your portfolio page or your own website or your own corner on the internet where you're running some experiments, maybe, something that you are showing the world. It could be blogs that you're writing about. It could be new things that you're learning. It could be text content, you doing spaces on Twitter. It could be like video content on YouTube if you want. It could be anything. That is something that belongs to you. A little bit of content creation, a little bit of putting it back into the world. That creates your own branding. And that is important because of many reasons, not because of just the employment or jobs that you will get, but even beyond that, in case you want to pursue something independently, you want to go into freelance, you want to, do consulting, you want to do anything like that. That personal branding that you have built over time will not only help you attract more opportunities, but it also helps you understand this art of selling, which is very important, right? As you step into real world, it's easy to just keep on writing code in front of your laptop now with AI tools, but it's hard to actually step into real world and see how to actually make money delivering value to end customer directly, right? And that is what it will teach you when you're building your own personal brand. Another thing that I can remember is don't get comfortable ever. Whether you are somebody who's working at a very small job, an internship, just getting started, or if you are even a senior developer who's doing, just management work, or you're just managing a bunch of people, bunch of teams, I think it's a great idea to keep on learning, especially in a world like this today, which is changing so rapidly. Don't get comfortable. Don't stop your learning. You should always look over the last 20 days, 30 days and figure out what new have you learned. And if the answer is nothing, then that is a red flag. That means that something needs to change. Either you are allocating way too much time into work, so work is extremely heavy, which is again fine if your startup is booming or your role is very, very demanding. But if it is not that demanding and your startup is also like consistently growing, it's not at a pace where you need all hands 24/7, then I would argue that you should cut down some of your pleasure time into learning time. Because that is how you keep on growing and keep on getting better. Because in the tech world, the answer is not that you are growing or you are not growing. The answer always is that either you are growing or you are declining or you are getting left behind, right? So if you're not growing, then you are getting left behind for sure. So these are some general things that I can remember. Obviously, a lot of them could be freelance specific, could be just job specific, could be portfolio building specific, which I can cover in a different format of video. But I hope you liked this one and you took away some interesting points, because if you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.